So how's everybody doing here? All right. Do we have video? Do we have video on YouTube now? Can everybody hear me on YouTube? All right. Awesome. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. I had to reset the stream there. Well, welcome in. Sorry for the technical difficulties that took a little bit there, but I'm glad everybody's in here. And this is my first solo live in relation to talking lawn care. I've gotten a lot of questions lately in my direct messages and comments of people asking questions, and the feedback has been this might be a cool thing to get together and talk about some lawn care related stuff in relation to spring. So I'm super excited to do that. And I think this is going to be a great time to talk live and answer questions live. So be sure that you're dropping those questions in the comments. And if you dropped them earlier, then I'll try to go back and see, but we'll just stick with what we got now. Drop them again if you see them. Welcome to everybody on YouTube. I finally got everybody in, and it looks like we got video and sound. So I just wanted to do this, like I said, to talk about spring lawn care and see, if people had questions and what kind of things we could talk about. I didn't really have a hard, fast agenda. So we'll kind of let everybody guide the discussion, and we'll go from there. I did have just one little thing to start out with in relation to the channel, which continues to grow, and I'm super thankful for all of your support. Having such a good time doing this, and can't wait for the 2023 lawn season. First day of spring today, and I'm really hopeful that we're going to have a good season this year. And to talk a little bit about my plan for this year, until we get some questions. Well, here we go. Here's the question. When should my first, let me see if I can. So it looks like we have a question in from Nick. When should be my first application of humic acid on a cool season lawn? I mean, I'd like to do the, I'll typically do fertilizer apps and micros throughout the season. A lot of it, I guess it depends on what fertilizer you're using too. I don't put down a straight humic anymore product. I started using the Turf Titan, and a lot of those Turf Titan products have the micros loaded into them, which I like. So it kind of cuts down my applications and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't overdo it. I don't know the exact amount of humic I would put on. Typically when I did it, and I used the Yard Mastery biostimulant pack, I would do the humic and stuff, as recommended. It tended to be once a month or so. It really gives a nice color boost to the lawn when you put it on. But I'd say as long as you're not doing it all the time, and you should be good from that standpoint. And your lawn will love the humic acid. Definitely a good micronutrient to use on the lawn. I typically don't separate mix them anymore. I always put them on as part of those Turf Titan products. And Gary asking, oh yeah, Gary did. He won. So in the 1,000 subscriber giveaway that we did last year, Gary won the Molasses from No Coast Turf. I love that stuff. Super easy to put down if you've never used it. I got some videos on the channel about it. It's soluble, so you can spray it out. I like to use the Molasses. I mean, you could use it any time of year, but I like to use it when it gets a little warmer in those summer months, and you don't want to pump nitrogen into the lawn. I like to put that Molasses down and push the color, not the growth. So you'll notice a big green up when that Molasses goes down, and basically the lawn will feed off of that, but you won't notice all the top growth coming off of the grass. So I like to put it down recommended rates, and I'll typically start that, like the Molasses. I still have some that I'm going to use this year in the summer months to kind of keep that green color, but I'll usually start that like end of May, June. It just depends on the weather, and where you're at. But usually when we start getting that heat, I think it works better in the heat. Definitely. And PJ, you raked your lawn out this year. I haven't done much to it yet. It's growing, and it is getting green. honestly, if the weather gets nicer, I could probably mow. And I could have mowed today. It was super windy, um, and I didn't get off work till 4. So honestly, maybe if the weather holds for tomorrow, I might get the mower out. I don't know. It's starting to grow a little bit, but our soil temps here are still pretty cool. So it hasn't really popped up. I think I checked earlier today, and our 5-day average soil temp here is still like in the 30s, like mid 30s. So it's kind of dipped a little bit. We got really cold over the weekend. So hopefully the weather finally warms up. It looks like we got some warmer temps coming here in Northeast Indiana, so that will be nice to really wake that lawn up. And I can't wait to get back out there. And technically, it doesn't even really look like it needs raked too bad because we haven't had a lot of snow or snowpack this year. Luckily, knock on wood, hope better not snow again. But yeah, I mean, I got that turf rake on the front of my Time Master. If you haven't seen that, I got a video on the channel about that. That does a good job. I do like that thing in the spring. It really picks things up, lifts things up to where it'll rake it out instead of going around with a rake. So that was my strategy kind of last year. I think I'll do the same this year. But really, it's been kind of nice, and we haven't really had to do that yet here, based on the weather we've been having and the weather we had over the winter. Yes, Gary, I agree. I'm assuming Gary's talking about the pre-emergent, but ask when have you already put down your pre-emergent? I have not put down pre-emergent yet. So I know you a couple weeks ago here in Indiana, at least, we had that warm spell and the soil temps kind of went up in the upper 50s and everybody was getting the itch. I kind of held off just because we all know if we live here in the Midwest, how the weather works. It's kind of unpredictable. Flip a coin. So, and it looks like, I mean, you're not going to hurt anything putting it down sooner when those soil temps are lower. I think I just like to do it when we get more into the season and that grass starts to grow and your soil temp gets up over around 50 or a little 51ish or whatever, and you start to see that consistent uptake. That's when I like to put mine down, with the idea behind it being, I'm going to extend my protection hopefully a little bit further into the fall if we have a later fall, and really give me a better window of protection against those weeds. But I saw several people in the Indiana lawn groups putting it down a couple weeks ago. I mean, it'll stay in the soil. It's not going to hurt anything if you do it. I just personally have the preference of waiting until we get more consistent temps from that standpoint. Bearded Lawn Dude, what's up, man? Rule on soil temps. Where do you like them to be and for what? So I think the magical number for soil temps, especially related to things we do in the spring, is the 50-degree mark. So when we hit 50, that's typically when you'll start to see the grass wake up. I think kind of that mid 40s to 50, you'll start seeing things green up and things start to happen. That's the number when I really, like I said, with the pre-emergent, it's kind of go time. That's when I'll go out, do a first application, mow if I haven't already. Usually I'll mow. Like I said, I can mow. Our temps are like 35-ish. I think that little warm spell kind of woke the grass up and then it kind of stopped a little bit. So we'll see what happens the next week or two, but I definitely think the first mow is coming in the next week. At least I could cut it based on what we're looking at. But when we hit that 50 mark, that's really when things start to take off and the grass starts to grow. That's when soil temps heat up to where crabgrass could start coming up. So that's when you get into the talk of the pre-emergence and doing the pre-emergent applications. So 50, really that magical number. And then I follow the Alan Hain approach of the split pre-emergent apps. So I'll do the first one at 50 degrees, and then I'll do the other split app at 55 degrees with the prodiamine. And I use the sprayable stuff. I just like to spray. So I would say and a little side note here, if you're intimidated by spraying, don't be intimidated by spraying. I used to be intimidated by spraying, but the more you do it, I actually prefer it over spreading granular stuff. So it's really easy. I find that I get better coverage, especially with the pre-emergent when we hit that soil temp, and I spray it out as opposed to using the granular stuff that I used to use. So I really like doing that. But as far as that goes, you're looking at, 55, and then you kind of get into the summer months when you're trying to maintain and make it through the dreaded disease season of the late spring and summer when everything gets humid and you start dealing with fungus, which I hate fungus, but it happens every year. So last year was a terrible year for that. And those soil temps warm up and you're ripe for fungus. So you really got to watch out for that during the summer months, and then you'll start cooling down to where things cool off again. So I would say, as far as this live and spring is concerned, 50 is your magic number on the 5-day average. So always when you're doing stuff, look at the historical data. And if you haven't used like the Greencast Online, which I've posted about several times, but if you haven't used that, check that out. Really easy to use. Put in your address or zip code. It'll pull up your data. Kind of look for that average, and you could see. Could probably it might be helpful for anybody who hasn't seen that. I could pull one up here and just share it. But here you can see my 5-day average for Roanoke here. We were kind of above average for the first part of the month, and this is when everybody was like, oh yeah, it's go time, it's go time. I'm put down my pre-emergent, and then you can kind of see, in typical Indiana fashion, the bottom fell out and the soil temps went down drastically. So we're kind of hovering here in the 30s, and now it looks like we're back on the rise, and we're supposed to get warmer this week. So I always look at this average over here. So you could always look at this. I do have a thermometer that I like to use too, and it's usually pretty close to this, not always, but it's nice looking at the historical data too and what Greencast is pulling. This is a great helpful tool you can get online, greencastonline.com, that I like to use and really monitor those soil temps and keep an eye on marks like pre-emergent, etc. All right, it looks like Sheila, I've got 3 acres to mow and I've got tunnels all over. What's the best and cheapest for 3 acres coverage to help it be healthy? I'm assuming when you say tunnels, you're talking about moles. And moles suck. I mean, they will destroy your lawn fast, and everybody's got a method to get rid of moles. I've tried several things to get rid of moles, gotten rid of grubs. I had some moles from our neighbor's house, yard, in the backyard, that I've had troubles with. I've tried to get rid of them with certain methods. I found that the best method is to just trap them and kill them. So it's, it's kind of, once you get the hang of it down, a little easier, but there's definitely a science to trapping them. I picked up a trap on Amazon, and I got one of them last year. They kind of moved. Mine are hit and miss, but I mean, as far as that goes, 3 acres, that's a lot. I don't know. It's going to be probably tough, but mainly I've heard people say you want to try to eliminate their food source. That's why I've really focused on grubs. And I don't know the specifics of what you got going on, or tunnels. If that means moles, I'm just assuming. If not, let me know. But those are definitely tough to get rid of for sure. PJ, I like the products. Yes, definitely. Any of the combo products definitely makes my life easier, our lives easier on putting stuff down. So it's going to be a lot easier instead of mixing up 5 different things if there's a product with several of those things already in it. And that goes along with more of when you're putting the apps down, it's kind of a spoon feed methodology of you got other micros and goodies in with your fertilizer. That's one of the reasons I loved the Turf Titan stuff, is it's got so many goodies, microbes and stuff mixed in. So that's why I became a big believer of that. My favorite post-emergent herbicide. So really, I think it depends on what you're trying to target. There's different herbicides for different type of weeds. Now, a lot of the stuff you'll see marketed, I've used, I think, the Bayer brand from Home Depot before, and I still have it in my garage. It works pretty well. It's not as, what you're going to find with the stuff that you get at the box stores is it's not as potent. It's, you're gonna probably have to apply it more, etc. But I've had some good luck with some low cost herbicides in relation to like the triclopyr that I dealt with for that was a little more potent, but $20 got rid of my creeping Charlie problem. And then I used tested a clover product last year. I personally I like the triad herbicide that I've posted about. If you haven't seen that, I got some information on the page about that. Speed Zone is another great herbicide. I know PJ likes Speed Zone from Girls Lawn. Speed Zone's kind of a good all around herbicide that will target most weeds. And it just depends on what you're targeting. So, I mean, if you're targeting most broadleaf weeds, I would say just read your labels and kind of do some research on what weed you're targeting and what herbicide works best for that. Now, I will say, I don't know if you've seen it, Nick, in the past, I've posted about the Purdue weed manual that I have. You can get it from Purdue University. I don't know where you're at, but you go to the Purdue University website. That thing is great for herbicides as well. So if you're targeting certain weeds, you can definitely go through and find a weed, research all about it. I use that thing all the time, and it will give you the best herbicides to kill those weeds. And then once you get the background, you can kind of go shopping and look at labels. But if you're just looking for a good all-around weed killer, I'd say whatever fits within your budget. You definitely don't need to spend a fortune to get a decent weed killer. But I do like the triad. I usually use the triad for post-emergent herbicides. Dan, if you had to pick one Turf Titan product for the rest of your life, what would it be? Man, I guess I would say probably that's tough. Probably probably have to go with the Thatch Buster that they have. Reason being is it's full of all kinds of microbes, and I've noticed a big difference in the soil over the last. I used it most of last summer, and just even digging up my core samples for my soil test that I took last month. Could definitely tell a difference in the soil. It was like it's more airy, and I have a bad clay soil here, typical Indiana clay, and it's definitely looked like that's definitely helped break things down and kind of aerate that soil and feed it. And I've definitely noticed a big impact from that. So if I had to pick one, I'd probably go that. My second pick would probably be the Lawn Advancer or that Drought Defender that they have. That thing's packed with goodies, and the growth regulator in the summer. I had great success with that as well. John, what's up, John? Are you doing prodiamine and Turf Titan on the same day? Yeah, I mean, I did last year. I mixed the prodiamine in. That's one of the other things I like about liquid fertilizers is the flexibility on being able to mix stuff. So as long as you're able to mix prodiamine, that prodiamine is easy to mix with. I've mixed it with Turf Titan before. Actually put an application of it down in the fall sprayed. And it mixes well with it. So no issues with those Turf Titan products also mix well together. So I've mixed like 3 or 4 of them together and kind of put like a throw the kitchen sink at it application down last year to kind of use up some stuff I had. No issues with mixing or anything, spraying it out of. I typically will use my backpack sprayer, but you can also mix it up in a hose end sprayer as well. Just don't do prodiamine with a hose end sprayer. Let me clarify that. I see Dan in the comments here. Absolutely. Don't quote me as misspeaking that. Do not use prodiamine in a hose end sprayer. Do it in a backpack or a pump sprayer if you're going to do that. Reason being is it's really hard to control a prodiamine, not only the rate that you're putting it down, but where you're putting it down when you're spraying a hose all over the place. It's a lot easier to kind of go in a grid pattern with a backpack sprayer or whatever, and you know where you're at, where you go. And yep, there's Dan. Don't do it with a hose end. Oh, you down. Yep, absolutely. I agree with you, Dan, for sure. Yeah, bearded. Yes, Absolutely. Those soil temps. I mean, I think I think you're in Ohio if I'm not mistaken. So I got the itch too. I'm ready to get out there. I may have to crack the mower out tomorrow. We'll see how to do it. Yeah, Dan, good reminder on the pre-emergent, 30 to 45 days apart. Um, and most of the time, I'll say with our weather here, that's about what you're going to see those soil temps spread out at. I've noticed even looking at the historical data here, typically once you hit 50, usually we'll hit 50, and then we'll kind of be in a mild lull here in Northeast Indiana or in the Midwest, maybe in general. But speaking from experience of living here my whole life, we'll kind of be in a mild lull of temps. So that temp of 50 will kind of hover around that for 30 to 45 days. So you're pretty much on point with that. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with Dan there. Go the 30 to 45 days on the pre-emergent and just kind of watch those soil temps, and you should be good from a pre-emergent standpoint. But I will say pre-emergent is one thing, like if you're not going to do much of anything else during the year, that's a good thing to put down to kind of limit weeds, and then you're not chasing weeds around all season. Um, it won't kill existing weeds, obviously, but it's going to help out with, you're not going to have a bunch of new weeds form. And it's definitely helped. Like from before I sprayed pre-emergent, I always try to keep chasing them. And it's just a pain in the butt trying to trying to do that. So Dalton, hey, thanks, bro. I appreciate that comment. Thanks for joining in. Definitely appreciate you. Yeah, that's exactly what it did here too. Kind of as you saw in that graph. Yeah, it's um, yeah, you're in St. Louis. Sorry, but yeah, it's definitely kind of bumped up and then everything dropped. I mean, it was snowing on Saturday and brutal wind. So I'm definitely we're paying for the warm winter we had. I'll just leave it at that. Um, I yeah, I haven't used that before the Lesco stuff, but yeah, a lot of those products, and I'm a big proponent for. I will. I'm good with any product as long as it works. So typically, how I go out and buy products is I will research stuff or see what other people have used and give honest reviews on. And definitely, I appreciate like, hey, if this product sucks, let me know that it sucks. Or if this is great, let me know that it's great. So that's why I try to just give you an honest input of what I have or what I've used, and then definitely always look when you're shopping for stuff. Look for something that has the ingredients that you're looking for. Go by cost, budget, whatever fits within your budget, and go from there. But yeah, typically any most pre-emergents are you know if they I like to use prodiamine as my pre-emergent, but whatever works for you and your lawn, go at it, man. Yeah, Metrozone. That's tenacity for people who don't know. Yeah, the tenacity mixed with T zone. T zone's another good herbicide. I haven't used that, but I've heard good things about it. I've used Speed Zone before, um, but yeah, most of those broadleaf herbicides are depending on what you're trying to target. A lot of them I've heard good things about. So um, definitely use what you got to use. PGR grant plant growth regulator. Yeah, PJ, I would say I agree. I mean, typically, depending on, I know you're in Virginia, but here in this area, um, typically when it starts to heat up, we'll notice that at probably like May. It just depends year to year, but probably May, we'll notice that. And I think the last time I haven't used a separate growth regulator just because I used that drought defender last year from Turf Titan that had it in it. And it did a pretty decent job for me. But yeah, definitely. I mean, if you've never been introduced to a plant growth regulator and you're trying to up your lawn game, it's definitely a good product in the warmer summer months for sure. It kind of slows down that top growth and lets the grass hold on to those nutrients, and really focus on staying healthy and not dying out. Um, and I've noticed a big difference with just a minimal amount in that drought defender that I use for Turf Titan, uh, for sure. Yeah, Thatch Buster, awesome. I absolutely love it. And I will say, not to make this a whole Turf Titan thing, but the Thatch Buster, I will say what it has. There's other Thatch products on the market. You can pick this up at Walmart now too. This is the first product they rolled out at Walmart. But quick little snippet here. When I toured them last year, and we talked about Thatch Buster, like their microbes that they put in there. Um, they are all sourced. Like their quality control there was amazing. It's basically they use the U.S. sourced microbes, everything in the United States, nothing from China or overseas, and they basically filter all the water and everything and bottle everything. Everything's clean. And the microbes, the strains they use in there, they didn't get into too many details for obviously proprietary reasons, but the mixture they have in there, it's actually what they use a similar mixture with through the BW Fusion, the agricultural side of that company, that's reaped benefits for farmers for years. So it's definitely got some good stuff in it that has worked on farm fields forever, and it's now that we're putting it in lawns. Just reaps benefits for the soil. So that's got to be why that's probably one of my favorite products for sure. Yes, KBG King, definitely Thatch Buster, awesome stuff. Can't say enough good things about that. Yes, I know PJ. You like to use that Anew plant growth regulator, and PJ seems has some good success with that. Chris, yes, I actually got Chris hooked up on Turf Titan last year when he was following along. Good friend of mine, and he's been on the Turf Titan train and saw good improvement with his lawn as well. So definitely awesome stuff, and it's awesome for us too, being in this area to support a local company, um, and really do a good job of supporting something local. Dan, I'll shut up now. No, keep it coming. Keep it coming. Uh, John, am I buying any new lawn equipment? Well, no, and for two reasons. Probably the first reason would be my wife would probably kill me. And then the second reason would be I have so much stuff in my garage as it is that I probably wouldn't be able to park in it if I got any more. Um, so I think I'm pretty much at capacity with lawn equipment. I don't even know what I would buy if I got anything else. I'm pretty much set. I mean, I'm sure I could think of something, probably not on the spot here, but yeah, I don't even know what I would buy. But definitely, whatever I bought, my wife would kill me, for sure. Thanks, Bearded Lawn Dude. I definitely appreciate you hanging out, showing up, and putting in some comments. Appreciate it a lot. Have a good one. Here's a local SJ. Yes, I am in Roanoke. I mean, if you put your pre-emergent down early, I touched on this earlier. You probably weren't here, but it's not going to hurt anything. Our soil temps, I looked a little bit ago and put it up. We're like in the mid 30s here. So, I mean, you're not going to hurt anything. I personally just like to wait until um, we hit that 50-degree mark or get a little closer to that, just to try to extend my protection out. It's not really going to matter. It comes down to preference. But I know that we have a warm up coming, and that we'll see things continue to climb here. So as long as the bottom doesn't fall out again, I mean, we're definitely on that increase here for Northeast Indiana. So, I mean, things fall out. I know we're going to be in the upper 50s and stuff. You're not going to hurt anything by putting it down, for sure. Comment of the night. Very true. I mean, that's a factual statement for sure. Um, oh, that's good. That's a good one. You win the comment of the night for sure. Real mowing. Honestly, I love the look of the real mow and how it looks. It's a lot of work. And then for my yard, you've probably seen it if you've seen any of the YouTube videos. I have a huge hill out back, and I'm kind of on an incline. So we're at like the front of an addition, and it used to be a farm field in this area. So the way that they drain things out, it kind of runs down past our house. We're kind of like built up off of across the street. There's a creek, so if anything floods, and just what I'm getting at is the layout of our land. Here in this picture here, it looks pretty flat, but it's kind of it's not really flat. I don't think it's flat enough to real mow. Definitely on the other side over there where the hill is and the inclines. I mean, it looks fantastic, and I definitely like the short grass look. I don't think I could do it in this lawn. Yeah, and there's my wife chiming in on not buying any more lawn equipment. So we tipped her off, I guess. Yes, Chris, Ego Equipment. PJ from Girls Lawn, absolutely. She uses a lot of the Ego mowers, the battery mowers, and she seems to love them. Um, they definitely make great stuff. I think you have an Ego mower as well. Um, they definitely make great stuff. I ended up going with the Toro stuff just because I've always been a Toro guy, but a lot of that Ego equipment is just really, really nice. I definitely agree with that. Randall, yeah, the Thatch Buster. I mean, you can use that all. I use it all year round. So they include it in the spring package actually, to put it down in the spring, and typically I will just put down 4 ounces, 1,000 square feet, usually with every application. So, maybe not every single one, but most every application, I'll put the Thatch Buster down, just because there's not a lot of fertilizer value in it. It's all great microbes and stuff, and that you're introducing into the soil, and it really does a great job of helping that soil and also breaking down any thatch you may have, and kind of using that as a natural food source for your lawn. So yeah, you can definitely use the Thatch Buster in the early spring. And if you see it at Walmart, great price on that stuff at $20 at Walmart. For sure. That's an amazing deal there at Walmart. I think they're going to roll more stuff out to Walmart. I don't know for sure, but what's next or whatever. But you see any value in buying your own aerator? Honestly, I mean, if for that small of a lawn, those things are expensive. I mean, when I used to work at the landscaping company, we didn't even buy one. We were kind of a smaller outfit, and we would rent it for like a couple weeks and do all the aerations in that time frame, just because those things are a couple grand. I mean, for a good model, if you find one on a deal or something, I mean, it's personal preference, but typically you're like aerating your yard once a year. I haven't done it for a few years just because I haven't really saw the need to do it with how the soil's been improving, but I'll typically do it in the fall. And last time I did it, I just rented it. I think I paid like $40 for half a day or something like that. And you can't beat that when you're, you know, instead of paying thousands. Now, if you're like a commercial outfit that uses it a lot, definitely, I mean, then it's worth it. Outside of, I'm assuming you're talking about one of those walk behind mechanical aerators and not the kind that you're going to pull on the back of a lawnmower or tractor or something like that. And I do know that those are more affordable, but those walk behind gas powered ones cost an arm and a leg. Yeah, I heard her laugh when I brought that up. She's in the next, so that is definitely a no go. My first application. So, yeah, if we ever get to the point where I can put something down, I'm going to go for I'm going to do the Thatch Buster and the Lawn Commander from Turf Titan since I'm using them this year. Lawn Commanders, their nitrogen boost, and then the Thatch Buster is all the great microbes and stuff. So that, and then the next app will be more of the micros and stuff. So, and actually, that's my other goal for this year. I really haven't shown anybody. I got my results back, but I haven't been able to post it yet in relation to my soil test results. I think I've talked to you a little bit about it, PJ, but so my pH this year, surprisingly, it came up a few points higher. I came in at 6.98 last year and went up a little bit. My strategy, and historically I've had high pH, like 7. I think the first time I took it in 2021, I was at 7.5. So, or 7.6, I think almost. And I've kind of stepped that down with some pH products. And last year I tried the elemental sulfur, and I had never used it before. I didn't want to go dumping a lot of it on the lawn, so I kind of went light on the elemental sulfur. And this is kind of a warning for anybody getting into lawn care, being a beginner. Don't go into it thinking that you're going to change things overnight. I've been working on my pH for a couple of years now, and it's my primary goal of this season is to kind of maintain the rest of things and get that pH in order. So I'm going to go on that first app when our soil temps warm up. I'm going to hit it with elemental sulfur. I'm going to try to do, I got to read up a little more on it, on how much I can put down, but I'm going to try to do the as much as I can without overdoing it. So I'll have to read a little bit more into it. I haven't got to that yet, but I'm going to really try to tackle that pH this year and get that down. I'm going to get down to about 6.5, around in there, and really improve that portion of my soil test. That's my focus this year, and then kind of maintaining my potassium and phosphorus, because those were low in prior years, and I really worked on that last year and got those up. So that'll be part of my first app, is that the elemental sulfur. I'll hit it a little harder this year and kind of see where it goes. So hopefully that works out for me, and we get it down to a better pH. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Steve, on aerating a lawn. A lot of the companies, if you rent one of the walk behinds, a lot of those companies will use them. But I've noticed a lot of the lawn companies that do a lot of them will have the ride-on units. They weigh a lot more, and they're going to plug deeper plugs into the lawn. So, I mean, for the price you pay, I don't know what it runs nowadays. I'm guessing probably, $50 to $100. Somebody will come out and you don't have to screw with it, etc. If you've never ran an aerator before, you're in for the workout of your life. Even though it's propelled, that thing is definitely a workout. So they make it look easy, but trust me, it is not easy. Hello, Terrence. Welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Yeah. PJ hires it out too. $50 for 6,000 square feet. Not bad at all. When you consider, like, you'd probably pay $40-50. Last time I did it was $40, and I had to go get it, put it on a trailer, bring it back, do it, take it back. I mean, you can't beat that. So if you find somebody that's going to do it for cheap, go the hire it out route and let somebody else mess around with that. The Silica. So, if you haven't followed me in the past, PJ here has actually turned me on to the Silica product. So I tried the stuff from gosh, I can't even remember the name of the company. The part of Ryan Noor, the company that Ryan Noor works with, lawn supply company. That's what it is. So the lawn supply company, and it did a good. Historically, I have mostly tall fescue, and I mow a little taller. And in the past, I'd had a problem with the grass laying over. Kind of saw PJ using silica, did some research on it, and started using the silica. Noticed a big difference in coating the grass blades and kind of getting it to stand up better. And what that did for me is it gives me a better cut and it lets that grass breathe. So anything I can do to get the taller grass to breathe, especially in those summer months, to kind of cut down on any fungus issues or fungal problems that we could have. The more breathability we have in the turf, I think the better that's going to go in relation to lessening the overall chance of that. But that silica, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna definitely have some out on the shelf, and I plan to use it. I don't know how often, PJ. Maybe you know. I haven't read into it too much yet because we haven't. It's been so cold here and snowing. I haven't really been thinking of anything outside of wanting to get out in the yard and mow. But yeah, I mean, as much as I could probably use it, I guess I would use it. I'd have to read the label on it. I don't think there's any like limit on how much you can put down, but definitely don't want to overkill it with putting silica down. The benefit of a plant growth regulator. So the plant growth regulator, I think the biggest benefit of it is, like I touched on earlier, is it kind of slows that top growth down. So if you think about your lawn in the summer months and when it gets really hot and if we hit a drought or there's not a lot of rain, that heat really dries that grass out, puts stress on that grass. And then you'll kind of notice your grass kind of getting, especially if you don't irrigate, things will get dry, etc. And what that does is it's going to really, not to get scientific, and I don't know the science behind it, but it really, in layman's terms, slows that growth down, the top growth down, and really lets that those grass blades focus the energy that it has. So while you're still feeding it, that food, instead of it saying, I'm going to use all that food and just try to grow like it does in the spring, it kind of slows that down and lets it can keep itself healthier when it gets really hot. So it's definitely that, and you don't have to mow as much. Just make sure you're following the labels on anything that you're using. I haven't personally used a separate product. I know PJ has used a new product, and had success with it and likes that. But yeah, I would definitely. It's definitely a good. I don't remember I think what the Turf Titan Drought Defender, I think it's like an ethylene type inhibitor. No, I don't know the difference between the science, but it is a growth inhibitor. I don't know if it's technically classified as a plant growth regulator, but it's a growth inhibitor if I'm remembering the label of the bottle correctly. And it's got a minimal amount in it and a bunch of other goodies. It's got the kelp in it and stuff. So when you put that down and then feed your lawn, it's going to maintain those nutrients and really keep things healthy while you're trying to get through that stressful period of summer and that summer heat. Yeah, I wish I could buy a smoker. She shut me down on that too, Greg. So I'm not going to be able to do that for a while. Yeah, when I first started out, literally, I looked earlier today on my dashboard. I took my first soil test in May of 2021, and my pH was at 7.55. I'll say the biggest thing that got me down, like last year I was at 6.98. So you can definitely tell that difference in the green color. Like in this photo here, I was probably in those upper sixes. And then I got the more yellowing out with that more alkaline soil. But yeah, 7.5, it was crazy. I was using the Jonathan Green Magicals, what I started with, and that stuff moved the needle a little bit, but not a lot. And I probably couldn't move the needle a lot last year with that elemental sulfur, but I had never used it before, and I didn't want to put like multiple apps down. I forget off the top of my head how much it said you could put down, but I didn't want to like overdo it and then basically ruin the lawn. So now I kind of know what I put down last year. That's another good, I'll say a side note here, another good thing of keeping track of what you're doing. I just have a notebook that I print off a calendar for free off like Microsoft Word or whatever every year, and write down my applications with the dates on the calendar. So I know like what I put down and when. And that's really helpful. Like in this situation, I can go back to last year's and say, well, here's what I put down on this date, or how much did I put down over the year? That's a great, simple tip that you can do, even if you just not jot stuff down in a notebook to look back on. Very helpful, as opposed to sitting here thinking, well, gee, when did I put it down? How much did I put down? Etc. So that's a great little tip. Hey, what's up, Andy? Thanks for joining in, man. Appreciate you being here. Hey, Jennifer, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you stopping by. Dan charges a premium for aeration services. I guess you just offer better services, Dan. You know your worth, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I'm assuming, PJ, you're talking about the plant growth regulator or the silica. I don't remember. I mentioned a few things. I'm kind of trying to catch up in the comments here. Yes, and yeah, I missed that. The PGR pushes the root growth too, so you're focusing more on the downward growth instead of the top growth. And the better root growth that you can develop, the better you're going to fare during those summer stressful months with heat and stress. Oh, the Anu has some poetry. Oh, yeah. PJ suffers from the poetry. It's outbroken. If you've never dealt with POA, consider yourself grateful. Luckily, I've never had it. Knock on wood. I hope I never get it. Basically, a grassy weed that you can't really get rid of unless you round up your lawn. All right, man. We'll be over to pick up the pit, boss. Hopefully, my wife sees this, and I got a spot for it on my back patio, so we'll pick that up. That'll be a great addition for the spring. So after I get done doing the lawn stuff, I can get the meat off the smoker. Dan's got the scientific explanation here. Yep. More root growth on the plant growth regulator. Keeps the stress level down. Chlorophyll doubles. Yep. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's in all actuality, goodness for the plant. If you want to sum it up in that, goodness for the grass, especially when it's starting to get stressed. You're not going to be as stressed in the spring because the temps are cooler, the soil temps are cooler. You're usually getting hit with rain, etc. It's like perfect conditions. I wish grass could just stay like it looks in mid-April, late April, and we never had to deal with fungus or anything, and it just looked perfect like that year round. That would be great. Any new info? Okay, so I haven't announced this yet, but you guys will be the first to know, I guess. So Turf Titan, they do have a newer. This isn't the news, but they have their lawn striper product that they kind of announced at the Equip Expo. They're still doing some R&D on that, the last I heard, and hopefully that'll be out in the next month. Basically, I don't know what's all in it. I haven't seen it yet, but it's more of it's got some iron in it, and I don't know what else it's in it, but mainly to get that deep, darker color on it. So we'll see what happens with that. But excited about this. Turf Titan's actually going to be the next live stream. They're going to be, I forget the date, next month, but we'll have Andrew, the president, Andrew Sowell, the president of Turf Titan. He's agreed to be on here. He's coming on this channel. We're going to do a live with him, and he's going to kind of explain the background of Turf Titan and go over any questions Turf Titan related. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun to have him on here live. Super cool. guy and knows his stuff when it comes to Turf Titan. So I'm excited that he agreed to that. And hopefully we'll make more of these. I got some other people and company or some other companies that have agreed to it. So we'll try to do like one of these once a month with companies to where you guys can ask questions and stuff. So still waiting to hear back from a few others. But I basically wanted to get with people of stuff that I use, stuff that I like, just so people that follow along with this channel can really dive into certain things that why I like certain things and why I recommend it, why I love the Turf Titan stuff, and basically ask questions live on the fly and get your questions answered straight from the source. So Andrew from Turf Titan, that'll be next month. I'll set that up. We'll do that live on YouTube, Facebook, just like this. And he'll be here live. You can ask him any questions you want. So that's pretty exciting. And then they've released the canine corrector, and the lawn striper, I think, is on the way. So that'll be awesome in relation to Turf Titan. I'm really looking forward to that. Try the next products. I will say, like, yeah, I use the next products extensively, and yard mastery stuff, and great stuff. I mean, the stuff worked great. I had no complaints with it. When you say expensive, I will just say almost everything in the industry is getting more expensive this year. I was at Lowe's the other day, and a bag of Lusco fertilizer was like $95. A lot of stuff is going up in price with the inflation and everything. I haven't really looked at the price of the next product. I'm assuming you're talking like the fertilizers and biostimulants and stuff. But yeah, I mean, they make a great product. It worked great for me. And then I kind of pivoted to Turf Titan just because we're more local here, and I liked the way that they did things. And but yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about the next products or anything. Absolutely loved them when I used them, and I'd use them again if I wanted to. I'd use them again. I mean, they're great stuff. It's just everything's getting more expensive, from grass seed to fertilizer, even the stuff at the box stores. If you look at off brands, I mean, the cost of fertilizer has went up exponentially, even from last year. So that's also a good strategy or a tip, I would say, is kind of look during the off season at stuff if you can, especially if you have a place to put it, or if you can stock up and stuff will last. Doing so, I've saved so much money shopping in the winter. Like last year, I bought my Toro Time Master in the middle of January and got it for less than $1,000. Last time I looked, those things are like $1,600 to $1,700 right now. So I mean, it's just crazy. And you'll get a little bit of relief when you buy in the off season, but once things start picking up, you'll see the prices increase. Great, but yeah, yep, the plant growth regulator for sure. I think that has to do with the focusing those nutrients on the health of the plant instead of top growth. All right, so my sulfur, I had a hell of a time trying to get elemental sulfur. I checked with like my local site one. I don't have an applicator's license anymore, so I can't buy it from there. It's regulated. You have to have a license to do it. To get it from there, I've actually, the cheapest place I found it was a place out west somewhere. It was super cheap to buy it. I got a 50-pound bag for $20, but I had to pay like 38. I had to pay like $38 for shipping. It was something crazy like that. But it was a 50-pound bag, and I still have half of it left, like I said, because I went light last year, and then I found it on sale like a month and a half ago. But if you check I have a video on YouTube about pH. I have the link for it listed in there. I checked like local farm supplies and all those other places around here, and around me at least, I couldn't find elemental sulfur. It was tough to find, but it's definitely more potent than the magical. And it does not have the calcium in it. It's 90% straight elemental sulfur. So you're really only focusing on that sulfur to kind of get that pH down. So I would highly recommend that elemental sulfur. I just have to put more on to move the needle more and get it going. Yep, the poetry of issues. Yep, super cool guy. And he definitely knows his stuff. That's for sure. So he was very informative every time I stepped in there. Stop in there too. Very awesome. Do my own. PJ says do my own has elemental sulfur. So check that out too. I hadn't checked that. Oh, actually, I think I did, and I still paid less with the shipping than what they were charging. I'm guessing that do my own built in the shipping charge. But another good thing is to just check prices constantly, because a lot of these places will change their prices on the fly. I mean, you may check 1 month and then, the next month you may look. Typically, I'll go out and kind of look around, even if I'm not ready to buy anything, and just kind of look and see what's going on. And a lot of times you'll see deals or sales or free shipping, etc. So, really cool place, or a really good idea to shop around. And yeah, go check them out. I'm sure Andrew would love to have you there. Check out their place. Super cool place. Their labs, everything in there. It was an awesome place. I'm always tempted. I drive right by there on the way to work, so it's I always want to stop in there, but I can't do it all the time. Oh man, Dan, you cracked me up. Oh gosh, you have to go check out Dan for sure on Instagram and YouTube. Dan the Lawn Man, he's a good dude. And PJ from Girls Lawn, go check her out as well. Very very good information and very good people for sure. Yeah, I haven't ever had luck with trying to sell used stuff. I always get people come in and try to lowball you. I tried to sell a mower before, literally like you list something for $100 and people be like, "We take 20." Yeah, I haven't had any luck doing that. So in the doghouse. uh, hey, at least the meat out of it would be good. I would say that. Yes, Thomas, I agree with you. In the fall, I love to mulch leaves. Mother Nature's fertilizer. I do that. I don't have a lot of leaves, so that's my rule of thumb is if you don't have a ton of leaves and you can see that grass through that, mulch them up, get them down into the soil, and you know get those use that as fertilizer. So hey guys, I mean if we don't have any other questions, if I missed anybody, let me know. I don't want to drag this out too long. Being my first one, I don't want to bore you all, but I mean if you guys have more questions, let's do it. But if not, here's a question from earlier that I missed while I was trying to sort out the technical difficulties. When can I start mowing? I say as soon as your grass is ready to go, Chris. As soon as it's like mine could probably be mowed tomorrow, to be honest with you. I would just kind of watch, like make sure that it's not going to hurt anything, but I'm just kind of weird about that. I just look for freezing temps and stuff in the forecast. That's not going to hurt nothing. But honestly, if I get home from work tomorrow and it's really nice, I might fire up my mower and go out and mow because I have the itch to do it. So, um, yeah, I would say when your grass will tell you when it's ready to be mowed, for sure. Well, I appreciate you guys hopping on. Oh, here's one last question. Oh yeah, for sure. Go drop your Instagram. So Steve drop your Instagrams. I know everybody in here is really cool. And Dan's not bipolar. Can you scalp in the spring? I mean, I personally wouldn't. As far as I know a lot of the warm season, that'd be a question for Dan. He's the warm season guy for sure. I would never scalp my yard in the spring up here, but Dan's in Florida, so he lives in the warm climate with the warm season grass. He'd be the one to ask about scalping in the spring. So Dan, do you know about scalping in the spring? Yeah. So Josh, lots of trees and leaves, and always mulch them. Yeah, I mean, it's basically if you have so many leaves that it's like you can't see any grass through the leaves. I say it's good time. That's a good time to bag them and kind of dispose of them, because even if you mulch it, you're going to kind of choke out that grass, Josh. So I mean, I always say if you have a coating of leaves, but you can still see the grass through the leaves, and mulch them up, you'll be able to tell real quick if you start mulching them and there's like the mulch is still covering the grass and you can't see much. I mean, then that's too much. And it's always easier to get rid of those leaves um, before you mulch, because then you're going to have a million pieces flying around. Um, Jennifer, is there a reason why you'd want to? I don't know what kind of grass you have, but um, I think I've seen your lawn on Instagram. So I not recently, but is there a reason why you'd want to scalp it as a Kentucky bluegrass fescue? I've also seen people, back to the leaves, I mean, use those leaves. And Thomas just commented about mulching them up or whatever. And then I've seen people use them in gardens and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, if you have a use, those are good when they break down all those, the goodies that come from leaves are definitely great to incorporate if you can. I typically do it every fall. I will do that. But as far as the scalping question, I guess I don't know why you'd want to scalp it having fescue and stuff, because you're basically going to stress it out in the prime spring season. So I don't know what height you mow at either, so I would not scalp it. And I guess is your reason to scalp for trying to get down and get thatch out of there, or trying to get the dead out? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much dead you have in there. Do you aerate in the spring? Is your grass? When's the last time you've been aerated? I guess I've definitely noticed that aerating has helped open up breathability for the yard in relation to fungus. So if you're having a lot of fungus issues, yeah, I would instead of scalping, I would probably, what Dan said there, you know, get a thatch rake or power rake like that, and then core aerate it. Get that soil opened up so it can breathe and kind of help out with dethatch last year. So yeah, I guess I would definitely look into aerating in the spring if you have a need for it, and if you want to get more breathability into that soil and kind of help out with getting more nutrients and air down in there to kind of help out with the fungus. That would definitely be what I would recommend instead of scalping off your yard for sure. First mow of the season. Honestly, I only ever bag if it's so tall that um, I only ever bag if it's so tall that I'm going to pile grass up on the lawn. Sorry, I was trying to read the comments. And typically, I will either mulch it or side discharge. Now that said, I do mow 2 to 3 times a week, so I'm not cutting off a ton at a time, but I do like to keep those clippings back, put them back into the yard, instead of taking, especially after I fertilize and such, taking those nutrients out, bagging them up and getting rid of them. I like to just keep that in the yard and just keep regenerating it. So I would definitely, if unless you have to, I don't usually bag it. No, I mean, you may find people that disagree with that, but I've seen videos that there's really um, not a real difference in it. It basically, it's going to come down to preference. I personally, I don't like to bag it. I just like to put it back into the lawn and go from there. But definitely, if you have a buildup or the grass is so tall and you really need to bag it, or you got debris on it that you want to bag, go for it. Otherwise, I typically try to mulch or even just side discharge and go that route. Oh yeah, then Jennifer, I would definitely core aerate. Um, Reach out to Dan on Dan's the pro, so Dan can definitely help you out on that. But yeah, if you've never aerated, I've noticed a big difference in um, fungus issues and aeration. So the more I've improved the soil and aerated the soil, the fungus has kind of gotten predominantly better, mainly because it's able to breathe and able to really get air down into those roots and let it breathe. Yeah, definitely. I agree with the when you have a fungus going on, um, collected bagging. So when I had fungus outbreak last year, definitely bag during those times, because what's going to happen is if you don't, you're basically going to spread that fungus around. Now, if you're treating the whole entire lawn with a fungicide treatment, excuse me, um, then it's gonna, it's not as much of an impact, but it's always better to be safe than sorry to pick those up if you have active disease going on and get rid of those clippings with disease in it. Um, and that definitely, I will agree to that. That's going to help less spread of the disease for sure. Um, I the main reason I don't like to do it is it's a pain in the butt doing it with a time master and trying to get that huge bag of clippings and put it into a bag and then leave it set out on my driveway and wait for my city to come pick it up. And it's then they sit out there. So if I can avoid it, I like to. But definitely, I mean, if you like to bag them up, and especially when you have disease in the lawn going on, that's gonna help you out a lot. All right. So, does anybody else have any other questions in relation to spring lawn care? This was an awesome time. I really appreciated all you guys showing up. We had a great show out once I got through the YouTube issues. So we'll know how to do that next time. And yeah, definitely mark your calendars at the bottom there. I'm doing the next live stream on this channel. It's going to be April 10th, same time on Monday night at 8 p.m. We're going to have Andrew Saul on here, the president of Turf Titan. We're going to be talking all things Turf Titan. So if you've ever had questions about Turf Titan, I know we covered some tonight, but we're going to be dealing with the expert who knows Turf Titan and who's going to be able to answer every question that you have instead of me, just the lover of Turf Titan. So for sure, sorry, I'm trying to read comments here and talk at the same time. I've noticed a miss growing in shaded areas. Moss growing in shaded areas. Does moss? I'm assuming you're meaning moss. I'm not really understanding what you're saying, Gary. I thought you meant moss, but then it says miss. I've noticed miss growing in shaded areas. But anyway, yeah, hit me up on yeah, spell check. So yeah, moss growing in shaded areas. Does moss outwork? Moss out. Oh, I get you. Moss out. I'm saying miss out, and I'm like, what is he talking about? I have never had the moss issue. I don't know if anybody in here, Dan or PJ, if you guys have used moss out before. Um, I personally haven't. I haven't really had a moss issue. Gary's just drunk. I haven't had any moss issue, but I have seen people. I can look into that if nobody else has used it and see. Um, I know there's some decent moss products out there. I just personally haven't used any to where I could recommend one or say that moss out works. So let me look into that and touch base with somebody and see, and I can follow back up with you. Send me a message, Gary, and we can look into that further. But it looked like somebody says iron will help with moss. So thanks for everybody for joining, and I really appreciate all of you guys joining in. It was probably a little rough the first go around, but hey, you gotta get the first one down to get better at it. So also looking forward to getting more videos coming out. I got some in the down the pipe that I'm looking forward to. Just got to edit it. I'm waiting to get out in the lawn so we can start recording. So really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate everybody supporting the channel. We hit 1,900 subscribers today on YouTube, and everything continues to grow. So I'm really looking forward to this season. And like I said, April 10th, we'll be live with Turf Titan here on the channel. So I don't see any other questions, and I will let you guys get back to your night. It's definitely, we went past an hour, and it's an awesome first live for me. So appreciate you guys being a part of it, and I will see you next